Did you forget we're having Deirdre's birthday party?
Oh.
We've got a piñata.
Right. Brilliant. Of course.
Have you forgotten your joy?
Of course not. Snug as a bug on a drug.
I keep going back and forth on my feelings about We Happy Few. My first impression was very positive. It has a great setting, the art design is fantastic, and the small bits of story the game presented had me interested. But once the scripted opening sequence ended, and you're thrown into the procedurally generated world of Wellington, I felt a bit betrayed.
Could you spare some food?
The basic premise of We Happy Few is that you play as Arthur Hastings, a newspaper censor that stops taking his joy medication. Joy is a hallucinogenic drug that is distributed by a totalitarian government, and citizens are required to take the medication to... well, I'm not sure why. This is one area that We Happy Few disappointed me. It doesn't do a great job of explaining what is going on in this world. I'm pretty sure that is by design, which makes it even more frustrating. I want to learn more about this world, but instead everything just comes off flat.
Oh my lord. He's a downer. Call security. We've got a downer.
Speaking of the world, you're dropped into a procedurally generated map set in 1960s retro-futuristic England. This is a setting that I should be super excited about, and while the look of the world is fantastic, almost Tim Burton-like, the world feels flat. What makes an open world game feel alive is the NPCs, and they are sort of like zombies in this world. I guess you could argue that is the medication aspect of the game, but once again, it doesn't do a great job of describing what joy actually is. The game begins with a fascinating sequence that shows Arthur censoring newspaper articles. One particular article about Arthur and his brother triggers a past memory where the two brothers are separated. This memory kicks off the story of the game when Arthur decides to stop taking his joy. You're then outcast as a downer, aka someone not taking their joy, and the real game starts.
Probably a bad time to ask for that raise.
Which turns out to just be a first-person survival game. While I'm not a huge fan of survival games, I've enjoyed my time with a few in the genre. The Long Dark comes to mind. Like many survival games, We Happy Few is in early access, and I can't help but wonder if it was released to the public a bit too soon. There are a few design choices I find odd. Since it is a survival game, you have meters that you must keep an eye on: health, thirst, hunger, and sleep. Other things may pop up, like infections and food poisoning. The sleep meter is really hard to keep up on. I feel like in a game where you can craft items... I forgot to mention that you can craft items in this game, but since it's a survival game, I figured you may have picked up on that already. In a game where you have to sleep and you can craft items, I feel like you should be able to craft a makeshift bed to sleep on. There are also loads of benches around the world. Why can't I sleep on a bench? To sleep, you must sneak into a person's home and sleep in their beds, and this could cause the residents of the home to get upset and start attacking you. Speaking of combat, it isn't terrible, but it needs more oomph. Some pizzazz, some spiciness. Like the rest of the game, the combat feels kind of flat. The game also doesn't pause when you access your inventory, so if your weapon breaks in the middle of a fight, you're relegated to using your hands or running away to select a weapon from your inventory. I'm not trying to hate on We Happy Few, because I see the early makings of what could be a good, unique survival game. Compulsion is trying to blend a story-heavy game with a procedurally generated world, which if done well, could be incredible. There will also be 3 other characters added to the game in the future, and Arthur's story will be more fleshed out as time goes on. I just feel like this game was taken out of the oven a bit too early. Put it back in, get that baby all cooked up, and let the masses go wild.